The air is thick with smoke. Tracer rounds cut through the sky like fireflies from hell. Your hands are slick with sweat as you grip the controls, trying to outmaneuver the enemy on your tail. Mayday, mayday, I'm hit. The radio crackles with voices, frantic, desperate. Your squadron is scattered. Some are burning, some are already gone. Then a warning light. Your heart pounds. You yank the stick hard left, then right, praying for a miracle. Too late. A deafening explosion rocks the plane. The engine screams. The cockpit fills with smoke. You're plummeting. The Pacific Ocean is rising up to meet you. You try to eject. Nothing happens. You pound at the canopy. The metal groans. The heat is unbearable. Your lungs burn. Your vision swims. You're going to die. And then...
The plane's on fire. I can't get out. I can't get out.
His parents rush in. He's sobbing, hyperventilating. They try to calm him, but he's not just crying. He's describing the crash. The same crash. The one that happened decades before he was even born. But how could he possibly know? Unless he was there. Hey, if you're still here, it means you're not just here for the surface level stories. You're chasing something deeper, like we are. So please do me a favor, hit subscribe, because if we don't build this community, the algorithm isn't going to help us and no one's going to tell these stories at all. All right, onward. The year's 2000, a small town in Louisiana. Bruce and Andrea Leininger are just regular parents, raising their bright, happy son, James. But then the nightmares start. Every night, James wakes up screaming.
The plane's on fire. I can't get out. I can't get out.
At first, his parents think it's just a bad dream, a phase, something he'll grow out of. But James doesn't stop. He starts saying things no child his age should even know. He talks about being a pilot, a fighter pilot. He remembers details about an aircraft, a Corsair. He says he flew off a boat called the Natoma. He mentions a name, Jack Larson. And then, one night, he looks at his father and says something that changes everything.
Daddy, I was shot down.
Bruce Leininger is no believer in the supernatural. He's a firm, rational, skeptical man. But when his son, a boy barely out of diapers, starts giving verifiable, accurate details about World War II fighter planes, he knows something is wrong. So he starts investigating. And what he finds will shake him to his core. Because James isn't making this up. The USS Natoma Bay was real. It was stationed in the Pacific during World War II. A man named Jack Larson did serve aboard it. And in 1945, one of their pilots, James Huston Jr., was shot down and killed in battle. The details match perfectly, too perfectly. And now Bruce is faced with an impossible question. Is his son the reincarnation of a dead World War II pilot? Because if he is, then everything we think we know about life, death, and the human soul is completely, utterly wrong. Bruce Leininger didn't believe in past lives. He wasn't some New Age spiritualist. He was a logical man, a rational man. And he was about to put that logic to the test. At first, he tried to explain it away. Maybe James had seen a war documentary. Maybe he had overheard something on TV. Maybe it was just a child's overreactive imagination. But none of that explained the details. A Corsair. James insisted his plane had issues with its tires always blowing out. The USS Natoma Bay. Not a name any 5-year-old should randomly know. Jack Larson. the mysterious pilot James kept mentioning. Bruce had to know the truth, so he started digging. Step 1. The USS Natoma Bay. Bruce scoured military archives. The USS Natoma Bay was real, a small aircraft carrier deployed in the Pacific during World War II. Step 2. The pilot James Huston Jr. Bruce combed through war records and froze. There was a fighter pilot named James Huston Jr. He flew off the Natoma Bay. He piloted a Corsair. And he was killed in action exactly as James described, shot down over the Pacific in 1945. Step 3. Jack Larson. James had always mentioned another pilot, a man named Jack Larson. Bruce found him alive. And step 4. The final confirmation. Bruce sat down with the Natoma Bay veterans. He told them what James had been saying, and these battle-hardened men who had been there, turned absolutely pale. James knew details about their battles that had never been published. He described the exact way Houston's plane went down. He even mentioned how the wreckage had broken apart, details only eyewitnesses would have known. And then, the final chilling confirmation. Step 5. The drawings. James had always drawn the same picture over and over again. A plane on fire crashing into the ocean. He always signed them James III. When asked why, he said,
Because I'm the third James.
James Huston Jr. was the second James. And now was this child, the reincarnation, James III. At this point, Bruce couldn't deny it anymore. This wasn't imagination. This wasn't coincidence. This was real. But if a soul could pass from one body to another, then what did that mean for all of us? Is identity more than the body we're born into? Does death even exist, or is it just a transition? And if memories from past lives can persist, what else carries over? Bruce Leininger had set out to disprove his son's wild claims. Instead, he found evidence that shattered the very foundation of what he thought was possible. But this wasn't just an isolated case, because when you start looking for reincarnation stories, you find them everywhere. The case of James Leininger is terrifying enough on its own. But what if his memories aren't just proof of reincarnation? What if something else is happening? Something that suggests time isn't as stable as we think. For years, mainstream science dismissed past life memories as simple imagination. But there's a problem. James didn't just have vague symbolic dreams. He had precise, verifiable memories. He knew names, locations, faces, and details of military history that a child should have no way of knowing. And James isn't alone. A 5-year-old girl in India started speaking fluent Bengali despite being born to a Hindi-speaking family. She described a past life in a city she never visited and named people who were later confirmed to be real. Then there's a 3-year-old boy in the Golan Heights, led his parents to a village, pointed at a man and said, "You killed me." The man turned pale. The boy then led villagers to a buried skeleton, complete with a murder weapon. Thousands of cases worldwide follow this pattern, impossibly accurate memories that don't fade like dreams. For years, researchers assumed the reincarnation was the only explanation. But then something else emerged, a theory more terrifying than reincarnation itself. What if these aren't past life memories at all? What if they're leaks? Let's discuss the fractured time theory for a minute. Most of us think of time as a straight line, a beginning, a middle, and an end. But quantum physics suggests time isn't that simple. The Einstein-Rosen bridge, better known as a wormhole, suggests that time and space may fold, connecting two distant points. The many worlds hypothesis proposes that infinite versions of reality exist, all playing out simultaneously. The holographic universe theory suggests that time itself is an illusion. Our perception of it is just a rendering of a deeper reality. And if any of these are true, then reincarnation isn't what we think it is. Because if time isn't linear, if past and future are just points in a multidimensional system, then maybe James didn't remember a past life. Maybe he was experiencing a time fracture. Maybe, for reasons we don't understand, James' consciousness wasn't fully anchored in one timeline. Maybe for a brief moment, the life of James Huston Jr. bled through. And if time is leaking, then how many others are experiencing the same thing without even realizing it? Ask yourself, what's worse than dying? Knowing that you might still be there, trapped in time, waiting to break through. But here's the real nightmare. If James Huston's life bled through into James Leininger's, then who's to say that something or someone isn't about to bleed through into yours? Let's take this a step further. What if past life memories don't just surface randomly? What if they're always there, hidden in the subconscious? Dr. Ian Stevenson, one of the most respected reincarnation researchers, found that some children who recalled past lives also developed the same habits, fears, and even injuries as their past selves. A boy in Turkey who remembered being murdered was born with identical scars to the wounds of his past self. A woman in Canada who recalled a past life suddenly developed fluency in a dead language without ever studying it. What if the mind doesn't just remember past lives? What if it absorbs them? What if your personality, your habits, your deepest fears and instincts aren't entirely yours? What if you're not just one person? What if your identity is a collection of echoes, overlapping souls, fractured in time? If James Leininger could access the memories of James Huston, if his trauma could leak through time, then what about you? What if your deepest fears aren't random? What if your instincts aren't yours? What if the person you think you are is just a ghost of who you were before? And worst of all, what if your past self is trying to break through? Throughout history, civilizations have experienced cycles of rise, decline, and rebirth, often within spans of 400 to 600 years. This pattern suggests that humanity might be part of a repeating sequence. The fall of the Western Roman Empire, 476 CE. Following its collapse, Europe entered the early Middle Ages, a period marked by societal fragmentation and cultural decline. Approximately 400 years later, around 900 CE, the continent began to experience a resurgence in trade, population growth, and cultural development, leading into the High Middle Ages. Then the 30 Years' War, 1618 to 1648. This devastating conflict in Central Europe led to significant political and social upheaval. Roughly 400 years after the Protestant Reformation began in 1517, Europe was again embroiled in widespread conflict, reshaping its political and religious landscape. These examples illustrate a recurring theme. Societies build, collapse, and rebuild, often within similar time frames. If history repeats, if consciousness is leaking between lives, if some people like James Leininger are remembering when they shouldn't, then maybe this isn't just a fluke. Maybe this is a warning, a glitch in the system, a signal we're about to reset again, a final chance to break the cycle. Because if we don't, then maybe, just maybe, we'll wake up again in another time, in another place, and we won't remember any of this at all. War ends, but echoes remain. On the battlefield, a soldier takes his final breath. He is young, too young. The world fades, the noise stops, and the story of his life comes to an end. But what if endings aren't real? What if, somewhere in another time, in another body, a child wakes up screaming? Not from a nightmare, but from something deeper, something real. A boy who should love toy planes, but instead, he remembers burning wreckage. A girl who should dream of princesses, but instead, she dreams of running from gunfire. A child who cries at night because they remember a death that was never theirs to begin with. What kind of world is this? A world where war never truly fades, where bullets fired decades ago still find their way into the minds of the innocent. For every soldier lost, how many souls are forced to relive it? For every war buried in the history books, how many memories refuse to stay dead? This is not just about reincarnation. This is about something far worse. Because the weight of human history never leaves us. We pretend that war is a story of the past, that names etched in stone are gone. But maybe that's the biggest lie we tell ourselves. Maybe war never ends. Maybe we just pass it forward. Maybe the memories of tragedy refuse to stay buried, because deep down, history knows we have learned nothing. To the fallen soldiers of World War II, those who sacrificed everything, your stories are not forgotten. But to the little boys and girls who wake up screaming, trapped in memories that should not belong to them, I'm sorry. Because this world isn't fair. You should have been given new lives, blank slates, fresh dreams. But instead, the past found you. It reached through time and made you remember. And that is the greatest tragedy of all. We tell ourselves that time moves forward, that history is behind us, that we are better than we were. But what if that's a lie? What if time isn't a straight line? What if we are just ghosts, reliving the same war, the same loss, the same pain over and over again? We do not move forward. We only return. Thanks for watching today. I'm Ralph, that's Wendell, and this has been another crazy ride on Divergent Files. If you laughed, learned something, or just didn't totally hate this, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and appease the almighty algorithm overlords. I know, you hear this from every YouTuber ever. But seriously, it's the difference between us keeping the lights on or Wendell having the moonlight as a car wash mascot. Wanna go deeper? Join our crew for as little as $3 a month. You'll get behind the scenes madness, early access, and even extended episodes. Stuff too wild for the main channel. Plus, you'll be helping us dive into even more insane topics we couldn't otherwise tackle. Head over to patreon.com/divergentfiles to see what's waiting for you. Oh, and get this, we're not just a YouTube channel, we're also in your ears now. Divergent Files Project Podcast is live wherever you listen to podcasts. Here's the deal, folks. You're not just an audience. You're the lifeblood of this channel. Your curiosity, your wild theories, your random comments, they keep this thing alive. Got an idea for a video? Drop it below. I read them all, yes, even the unhinged ones. And who knows, your idea might be next on deck. The world is strange, the story's even crazier, and we're just here trying to make sense of it all. Thank you for sticking with us, for showing up, and for being part of this wild experiment. Until next time, stay curious, stay kind, and remember, you are truly appreciated.